Hey guys, look at my kitchen. Another big exciting day in my kitchen. Where are we going? What do we make? And this is what I say we do, guys. We get on an airplane. You with me? We're gonna fly to Rome. We're gonna get off. We're all gonna go to a restaurant and we're gonna order this dish because it's delicious and it's actually one of the four main pasta dishes of Rome. You've got Amatriciana, which is actually the mother of this dish, okay? Now we're gonna make an Amatriciana, which is what this is, which is tomato added to the Amatriciana. You got carbonara and you got cacio e pepe. So those are the four Roman dishes. I say we order all four of them, put them out on the table, and we just go to town eating. What do you say, with a good red or white wine? And guys, this recipe is simple and it is packed with flavor, and you're going to see why it's so popular in Italy. Actually, it came from Lazio, Italy, which is where all the ingredients for this essentially come from. And what I'm going to share with you today is the true, authentic, from Rome, going back 100 plus years ago. This is exactly how they made it, or as close to that as you can. There's some variations now, which those are great too, and those are fantastic, but this is not. This isn't a variation. This is the actual recipe. And what's great about this recipe and this little tour I'm going to take with you guys today is I met with a couple nonas in Rome a number of years ago, and there's some important little tips, there's important little secrets to make this come out just absolutely delicious. All right, so let's go over ingredients. Let's start having some fun. First and foremost, you're going to need a pasta. Now, this was made with a spaghetti. It was made with another variant of spaghetti, which is vermicelli, which is really thin, like an angel hair, or it was made with bucatini. Bucatini is what it's most recognized with today, and buco means hole in Italian. So what you're dealing with is thicker pasta, and it's got a hole through it. And the whole key with pasta, and it's something we talk about in our videos, is grabbing sauce. So you marry or pair a certain pasta with a certain sauce because it tends to collect that sauce or taste best with that sauce. And you're gonna get a, like at your Italian market or your international market, try to get that authentic pasta because you're gonna see they push it through a bronze die. So it's very rough on the outside and that'll help it grab more sauce. And with the hole, as it cooks in your sauce, it'll grab more of that delicious flavor. So for today's recipe, we're gonna use 1 pound of a bucatini pasta. Next, guys, you're gonna need cheese. Cheese is critical, and pecorino romano is critical for this recipe. Now, pecora, if I'm pronouncing that exactly right, actually means sheep in Italian, and that's where pecorino romano comes from. It actually means sheep cheese, okay? So it's made from sheep, and the two big classics, as you guys know from Italy, you got pecorino romano, you got Parmigiano Reggiano. Parmigiano Reggiano is made from cow's milk. This is made from sheep's milk, and I'll tell you, oh, it is so delicious. Just the aroma, the perfume of that. And I'm gonna also tell you this, full disclosure, I bought this yesterday at my Italian market, and you'll notice it's in perfect shape. I did not take a taste, and I just wanna be recognized for that, because let me tell you, I was sitting on the couch and it was eating at my mind like, man, I could just bite into a big chunk of that. But we wanna use a lot of that. So we're gonna use about a cup-ish, cup and a half of shredded pecorino romano cheese. Now, most of pecorino romano is made, I believe, in Sardinia now, but again, the original recipe comes from that area. So big in pecorino, a lot of sheep herders from that area, and dried pasta was commonly used in that northern area of Italy as well. Next, we're gonna need something packed full of flavor, and that's gonna be our pork. So again, pork, pigs, really common in Italian cooking, especially in that region of Lazio. It was really common, and there were villages around Rome, so a lot of the pigs were produced and raised in that area to feed Rome. So in this case, we're gonna want, not only do we want pork, we want a part of the pig that's really specific for this recipe. Now, this type of pork is gonna be called guanciale. So what it is actually, it's the jowl, it's the cheek of the pig. You're gonna also see pancetta, which many of you are familiar with. That's like a Italian bacon. That's gonna be the pork belly of the pig. And these are meats or pork that are cured. So they're gonna add salt and pepper and different herbs or spices, and they're gonna cure the meat, where American bacon, exactly the same, but we smoke the bacon. So in this case, to make this recipe, ideally you're going to need to go to an Italian market and you're going to ask for guanciale. If they don't have it, most stores will carry pancetta. That'll work really well for you guys. And if not, then get the American bacon, but you want it really thick. You want a chunk or a cube of that bacon. Then there's a reason for that, and that's the fat content. We want to use a lot of the fat because the fat is going to emulsify and make a creamy sauce. The sauce emulsification process is what really makes this sauce so delicious. We're going to use 1 cup-ish of chopped guanciale, the pancetta, which is going to be fantastic and so unique to this type of pasta. All right, now we're going to need some tomatoes, right? So listen, we can't go to Rome. I couldn't go to Rome today, but ideally San Marzano tomatoes are actually from Lazio, Italy. They're from that area. So I got some canned peeled. Don't get mad. Don't yell at me. I'm not in Rome. So I've got canned peeled San Marzano. So I have a 28-ounce can. So what we're shooting for here is about 5 tomatoes. We're going to want a little over a pound, about 1.5 pounds of tomatoes. So if you're going to use fresh tomatoes, that's great. And obviously San Marzano, it's a sweeter plum tomato. They're delicious, very unique to Rome. They actually grow them to this day right in downtown Rome, which is really cool. And most of the time when you're preparing tomatoes, you would make a passata, which you would take the tomato and you would mill it and you would create a sauce, which would typically remove all the skin and some of the seeds. So we're going to grab 5 tomatoes. Oh, the San Marzano. There's a uniqueness. There's a sweetness of the tomato. They're very specific. It's a plum tomato from that region, from Rome, Italy. Now we're going to need some salt and we're going to need some pepper. So today we're going to use pink Himalayan, one of my favorites. It's earthy, it's briny, it's pink. Why? Because Amatriciana is a sexy dish, all right? So we're going to use a couple of pinches of salt. Now we want to be gentle on our salt because Pecorino Romano has salt. Our pasta water is going to have salt in it as well. And our guanciale is going to have salt, so we don't need a lot. So we're going to add just a little bit of our salt. Next, we're going to need pepper. Now, pepper is critical in this recipe because this comes from an Allegriccia, which is like a cacio e pepe, right? They're very similar. So you're going to use a Pecorino Romano cheese with pepper. So Allegriccia is pepper with the cheese as well, and this is the tomato version of it. So we're going to want black ground pepper. That is what the truest, authentic version of this is. Some of the newer versions will actually have a red pepper in it, which is great, but the original had black ground pepper. Next, you guys are going to need some olive oil. So anybody new to our channel, and a huge shout out to our subscribers, our family members here of Cooking and Talent with Joe. It means the world to me when you subscribe to the channel. We own a farm in Italy for anyone new, and we make our own olive oil. And I named the company after my 2 boys, Vito and Joe. And guys, we co-op with a whole group of farms to bring us some of the best extra virgin Italian olive oil you're ever going to have. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wow, I'd love to get some. So just hit the link above or below, or go to our website, Cooking Italian with Joe. Click buy it now. Grab yourself a few bottles of olive oil. We'll drop ship it right to your front doorstep. And I like to think of it as taking a trip to Italy. It's taking a trip to Italy right in a bottle. And last, guys, before we get cooking here is this. I have some really dear friends of mine. My roommate from college, one of my best friends in high school and college, his name's Vinny, and his lovely wife Kelly. And they're fans of the show, and they stayed out at our villa in Italy there a couple of years ago. And they were kind enough to buy me an olive oil dispenser. Isn't that beautiful? And a huge shout out to Vinny and to Kelly. Grazie mille. So in regards to olive oil in this dish, you're going to need a splash. You're going to need just a splash, and I'll show you how to get that going. A couple other things really quick, guys. You're going to need some water here to boil the pasta in. There's an important tip. I want to talk to you about that. You're going to need a pan big enough to add the pasta. So remember, you want something a lot bigger than you think because you're going to actually add the pasta and some of that pasta water to it. So you're going to need a pan big enough to put it in there. And then you're going to need, obviously, a serving dish. Guys, first thing we want to get going is on our guanciale. So we're going to want about a cup-ish, maybe a little bit heavier on that cup, of cubed guanciale. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and take my roll of guanciale. I'm going to cut this in a couple of pieces. And the simple way to do this, guys, is just cut it down the middle. And remember, guys, this is going to shrink up quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it into cubes around that size, about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. We want to get them close to around the same size so that everything cooks about the same time. That's perfect right there, that size. Okay, our pork is cut up. I'm gonna meet you guys over at the stove. First thing I'm gonna wanna do is add a couple tablespoons of olive oil, obviously Vito and Joe's, and that'll get us some fat to render with our pork. And now I'm gonna go ahead and add my pork right in there. On our heat, guys, we want a high medium, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna cook this down in order to bring out the fat. Now, a quick tip I'm going to give you guys is you're going to want to add some water, about a ladle of water. Usually I'll use my pasta water to the dish. So why would I do that? Because the water added to the pork as it heats up will actually extract a lot more of the fat and flavor and salt from the pork, which is what we want. We want to maximize that because that's what we're going to use to flavor our dish. And guys, we're going to cook this down till it's crispy, till it's brown, not burnt, but brown and just on that verge of crispy. Guys, I want to give you another tip. Now, I added one tip already, and that's to add water to your guanciale. The other tip that I learned from these nonas is this. When you cook your pasta, it goes against everything we've been taught, I understand, you want to use less pasta water. So we're going to use about half. Why? That's because you want to concentrate the starch in the water. So the trick on that is you're going to need to stir it a lot, but I want to get this pasta water half filled. Now I've got my pasta water on a low heat, and I'm going to put a good tablespoon of salt in my pasta water. You want to get your pasta water to taste like the Mediterranean, okay? So you want it to taste like seawater. So I'm going to give that a stir. I got that on a low heat. And now while that's cooking and warming up, guys, let's save a few minutes of time, and I'm going to start grating my pecorino romano. Now listen, I like to use a microplaner, and the reason I like to do that, especially for this dish, we want the cheese to melt. We don't want the cheese to be shredded with chunks of it in the dish. We want the cheese to melt, coat the pasta with the tomato sauce. We want it to emulsify within the sauce. So if I shred it nice and thin like I'm going to do here, it'll come out delicious. The one thing I just want to check on though, because I've been dreaming about it since last night, that's a premium one too. That's good. Oh boy, that's good. Let me try one more piece. Just on the end, just on the end. And guys, I'm going for a heavy cup of shredded pecorino. Okay, our cheese is done. Guys, when it comes to our tomatoes, the old school way is you just get in there, just don't splash it. And I'm gonna go ahead and crush them right with my hand. So I'm gonna crush the tomatoes. And guys, that consistency right there is gonna be like a rustic passata. It's exactly what I want right there. Guys, our guanciale is perfect. Don't think that's burnt, it's not. I know the color here is coming out a little darker. I want it crisp, that's perfect. You see all the oil that I got in there? Now what I wanna do, guys, is turn your heat down to low, and then with everything in there, so some recipes call for draining this and then using a white wine. And you could do that, but again, in the original recipe, what you would do is you would use the tomato sauce to deglaze your pan. That's what we're gonna do here. So what I'm doing here, guys, is I'm just adding my tomato sauce right there. And you're gonna see how that deglazes your pan? Perfect. I got all those delicious flavors. With the liquid of the tomato and the acid of the tomato, I'm actually gonna extract a lot more flavor from the pork that's already been cooked down. The liquid and the acid from the tomato, as we cook this down for 10 minutes or so, will actually tenderize my pork. Next, guys, we're gonna add some salt. So I'm gonna add about a half of a teaspoon of salt, and then I'm gonna come back and taste it before I add any more salt. Now, guys, we're gonna add some pepper. So we're gonna add a good tablespoon of pepper. Pepper is a highlight of this dish. So I'm gonna add a good tablespoon of pepper to the sauce right when I start cooking it. As you heat the sauce, the delicious oils of freshly ground pepper will actually marry with the fats of the pancetta. And now, guys, we're gonna give this a really good stir. We got it on low heat. We're gonna stir it frequently, and we're gonna cook this down for about 10 minutes. And my pasta water's ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my bucatini. So just let that set in there a minute and soften so I can get it all in there. Important tip on the pasta, I gotta make sure now that I let it cook just for 30, 40 seconds so I can get it submerged. The other point is you gotta make sure you stir it frequently because you don't want it to stick. And don't add any oil to it because oil actually prevents flavors from being absorbed in the pasta. I'm gonna be frequent and attentive on that to stir it. One, so it doesn't stick. Two, I want it to release as much of the starch as we can. A couple other tips that makes this dish come out just absolutely delicious. Number one, really important, you gotta give me a thumbs up, you gotta give me that notification bell, and you gotta subscribe. When you subscribe to the channel, I'll tell you, it means the world to me. One, you become part of the Cooking Italian with Joe family. Two, any trips recipes. We got a lot going on the farm right now. All that'll come to your notification box. You know what that thumbs up does? It actually shares our video with other people that are looking for great Italian recipes. So I really appreciate that. In regards to the olive oil, I'm sure you already ordered it. I can literally hear it go in your house. All right, great. Our bucatini's coming out great. Give it a really good stir. In regards to our sauce, guys, it's been about 10 minutes, and you see how nice and dark that's getting? That's exactly what you want. Guys, another really important trick, you're gonna take some of your cheese, just a little bit of it, and you're gonna actually add it to your sauce. That's gonna help the emulsification process. So the cheese will melt, it'll become part of the sauce. Listen, my bucatini's not done yet. It's about 3 or 4 minutes shy of being al dente, and that's okay, but I'm gonna add it to my sauce right now, because I want the rest of it to cook in my sauce. Guys, now what I want to do is give it a stir in the sauce. Next, I want to add a ladle, a whole full ladle now, of my starches from the pasta sauce. And as that pasta is still cooking, it's still going to release starches. I've added starch, and everything is going to marry beautifully as the pasta cooks down to that al dente. I know what you're thinking, guys. What about the cheese? Again, another magic tip. I don't want to add the cheese yet. I want to get rid of that liquid. Take note. You see how the sauce isn't watery anymore? It's thickening up. So I got starches from everywhere starting to thicken up. Now I want to add that cheese. So I want to sprinkle the cheese as I stir it. So I want that cheese to emulsify and actually cream up my sauce. Okay, guys, delicious time. The aroma right now, I'm telling you, it feels like you're in one of the old restaurants in Italy, in Rome right now. So guys, I'm gonna take my pecorino here and just put it right over the top. Oh, that is good. So we're in Rome. We're gonna do like the Romans do, right? You take those tongs and you spin it just really slowly in your sauce. You're gonna put it right in your dish and then just let it loose. And guys, I wanna top this off with some pecorino. This is gonna be packed full of flavor. I certainly want a piece of that pork though. See how creamy the sauce is? Oh, it's just absolutely perfect. You guys ready? Here you go, right here. Cooking Italian with Joe, smell-o-vision, taste-o-vision. I wish I could do it for you guys. And right now I'm getting a little bit of the heat of the pepper, just a little bit. What's amazing is everything. The aroma just before you hit it of the cheese, and you're hit with a lot of that tomato flavor just in the aroma. And then guys, when you put it in your mouth, you're hit with the cheese, and you're getting hit with the intensity of the pork, which is just delicious. As you keep chewing, the flavor just gets better because now you're getting the pasta and the starches from the pasta. Guys, I'm telling you, the tomato is the star of the show here. It's so delicious. And that's what makes it so great. It's the richness and creaminess and the impact of the flavor from the sauce. Guys, this gets better with every bite. And right there, I'm getting hit with the guanciale. I'm getting hit with the pork. And then you're biting into it with those textures, that crunch. Hey everybody, thanks so much for taking a trip to Rome for a delicious, simple, fast, and historic recipe. Right guys, don't forget, hit that subscribe button, the thumbs up, and the notification bell. Hey, make you part of the Italian family. Make sure you guys go on my website or the link above or below or my Facebook page. Grab yourself a few bottles of Vito and Joe's extra virgin Italian olive oil. Love to drop ship you some olive oil right to your front doorstep. And last but not least, get around the table with your family a couple of times a month. Celebrate your heritage, your ethnicity, whatever that might be. And I'll tell you what, even more important, set some traditions with you and your family out of love. They'll last you a lifetime. I know they did for me. Hey guys, from my kitchen to yours. Until next week, mwah, buon appetito.